Podcast, Episode 2. Today we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome, how to conquer imposter syndrome, and turning doubt into a mogul's superpower. So I want to welcome you to today's Mogul Performance Podcast, where we guide leaders to elevate their impact and performance. So just a quick promo I want to get out of the way here. At Mogul Performance, what we do is we specialize in leadership coaching tailored to meet the needs of where you are. Whether you're stepping into a new role or managing a team or leading at the executive level, we are here to help. So we have different coaching packages that we offer. We have the core package for that new leader. We have the MVP package for that leader who's been in a managerial position for maybe a while, but want to refine their strategy and their influence. And then lastly, we have the Mogul package. This is designed for executives ready to transform their leadership style and create a legacy, or for the individual who just wants to take that big leap into the next step and to be a mogul in the future. We also have some add-ons too. We have psychometrics, we have additional coaching sessions. We also have the Mogul Collective, which is a bi-weekly coaching group for high-achieving leaders. This is where you can network with individuals who are like-minded just like you. So if you're ready to take the next steps into your leadership journey, let's connect. But for now, let's dive into today's episode. So like I said, we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. So I want to open this up with a question. Have you ever been promoted or recognized for your work only to feel like you don't belong? And maybe you think, they're going to figure me out. They're going to know who I really am inside. And they're going to know I'm not qualified. How does that sound? Does that sound familiar? That could be imposter syndrome. So what imposter syndrome is it was actually coined by a couple of clinical psychologists in the 1970s. It was Dr. Pauline Clance and Dr. Suzanne Imes, I believe is the name. And it describes the persistent feeling of being a fraud, despite what your accomplishments are. It's not limited to just one group. It's leaders at all levels in all industries. It is almost normal to feel this way. So many people feel this way. So let me share an example with you of a client that I worked with. So I worked with a client recently who was promoted into a senior executive role. On paper, their resume, they had all the qualifications for the position, years of experience, and a proven track record of success. But internally, they felt stuck. They felt like they shouldn't be there. They were questioning if they truly belonged in the role that they were hired into, the people who saw them and interviewed them to put them in that role. And if they were even capable of being the right person to lead in that executive role. But here's a twist. Their promotion wasn't based on just qualifications. It was based on the way that they inspired their teams and how they made decisions and built trust. The self-doubt they were experiencing was a reflection on how much they actually cared about the role that they were in and the impact that they were trying to make. So why does this matter? Why does it matter to understand what imposter syndrome is? Imposter syndrome isn't a weakness. It's a sign of growth and responsibility. So let's break this down a little bit further. So why does this show up? Why does imposter syndrome show up in leaders? Often it's tied to transition in their career of some sort. So some examples of this could be, think about when you were promoted into a supervisor position, that first time going from the individual contributor to a supervisor position, right? It feels weird, and you're not sure how to navigate the new challenges. Or maybe you're leading a high stakes project. There's a lot of money behind this, and there's a lot of oversight. Or you're managing situations with there's just no clear answers, and you need to figure it out. It's common for high achievers who are constantly pushing boundaries to feel this way. We see this so often in our mogul clients who are so extremely driven, who are so successful in so many ways of their lives, but they still hold themselves to that incredibly high standard. That's okay, but that can still bring them into that sense of imposter syndrome. Instead of looking at these things as your weaknesses, view them as a reflection of your commitment to your team, your goals, and also your values. And just think, have you ever considered what your self-doubt might actually mean that you care so deeply about your work, about your people, about the impact that you're going to make? What would happen if you learned or you leaned into that instead of fighting it, right? You lean into your strengths. So at Mogul Performance, our strategy is to reframe what imposter syndrome is. So how do we do this? Step one is we recognize it. It's bringing awareness. Where is this self-doubt coming from? Is it tied to something? Is it tied to my need for perfectionism or my need for failure? It's important to figure out what triggers these thoughts. What is triggering that feeling? Step two would be to shift your perspective. So imposter syndrome means that, again, like we said, you care. It's what keeps you grounded and striving for better, which is, it's good to almost feel this way because you care, because what can happen if you're overconfident? Overconfidence, not always a bad thing, but it also can lead to danger. It can lead a blind eye to things that are happening that you aren't even aware of and that you should be. And then it's important to ask yourself, how can I reframe this doubt into a strength? The third step is to celebrate your wins. Our Mogul Performance clients, often they don't see the wins. They do win, and they do accomplish so many great things. A lot of them big and a lot of them small, but they don't see them. It happens, it's there, they move on, they forget about it. That's what we see in a lot of high achievers. However, it's still important to recognize your wins and your accomplishments, no matter the size of it, because that is still going to build confidence in recognizing what you've already achieved and what you've already done in your life. So what I want to ask you is, when was the last time that you acknowledged a win, no matter how small that was? If you're like me, sometimes it's hard to look back on the week and be like, what did I win this week? But sometimes I came home and I was with my family and I was present for that moment, right? No matter how small that could be. The fourth step is to seek support. So leadership can be lonely. Sometimes people will say it can be lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be that way. That phrase doesn't have to count. You want to surround yourself with mentors, peers, or a coach who can help you offer perspective and guidance through the thing that you may be struggling with imposter syndrome. And the fifth and final step, is to focus on the big picture. So ask yourself, why are you in this role? How did I get here? What did I do? What is my mission? What am I supposed to be doing? And when you're clear on these purposes, that mission that you're working on, it's going to be a lot easier to move through that doubt because you're focusing on moving forward. So how do moguls use imposter syndrome as fuel? There's a mindset shift here that we help our mogul clients achieve when it comes to imposter syndrome. And that is, imposter syndrome is not the enemy. It is a tool that we use. Instead of holding you back, it pushes you to prepare and grow and improve. That's what that is. That's what that's telling you. Some examples that we've seen is we've guided leaders to turn their self-doubt into action, whether that is by building confidence or making decisive decisions or creating thriving team environments. So think about this. What would you change if you saw imposter syndrome not as a roadblock, but as an indicator that you're growing into the leader that you are meant to be? What if it's saying that? So as we wrap up, I just want to thank you for tuning in today's episode on imposter syndrome. I hope this conversation has helped you see that self-doubt doesn't define your ability. It's how you respond to it that really matters. And sometimes it's best not to even label ourselves with imposter syndrome, but to reframe it. Again, it shows that you care. It shows that you want to make an impact on your work, on your team, and everyone who is around you. So if you're ready to reframe that doubt and elevate your leadership, let's connect. Let's talk. You can visit and find out more information on our website, mogulperformance.com. You can schedule a discovery call on there. And also follow us on social media. We post a lot on Instagram at Mogul Performance. We post a lot on LinkedIn, also at Mogul Performance. And we post on Facebook as well, also at Mogul Performance. So just a final thought I want to say is, remember this. Growth happens outside of your comfort zone. So you need to embrace that challenge. When that challenge is looking you in the face and that imposter syndrome monster is looking at you, embrace it. And let's lead the way forward together. Thank you.